Hello, independent music teachers, and welcome to the Music Teacher Mastermind podcast, where each week we discuss a challenge, opportunity, problem, or inspiration, also known as a COPI, with another teacher or two. Today, I am joined by Rachel Ehring, and we are going to discuss some management software options and how we use them in our studios. Rachel and I will also be doing a special session in my music teacher bootcamp later on in August alongside Clinton Pratt, where we will all be sharing management software options for independent music teachers and also those who own and run multi-teacher studios. So if you want to join and go more in depth with us, today is July 1st of 2024, and it is the last day to join. So this bootcamp has speakers from all over on an online platform to discuss all things on the business end. We're talking policies, taxes, systems, calendars, recitals, you name it, we're covering it. So if this might be of interest to you, go ahead and visit my website at www.pianocats.com, that's cats with a K, and click on Piano Teachers Resources and links to find out more information and registration information. If you cannot make it, no worries. I will be opening up a new mastermind in the fall. Yay! And it's going to be for up to 6 teachers. So if you want more information on that, stay tuned or reach out to me and we can talk and see if this might be a good fit for you. But for now, I hope you gain a little insight into the world of management software with Fons, that is Fons, and my music staff with myself and the lovely Rachel Ehring. So let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Music Teacher Mastermind. I am Jaclyn and Rachel, and with me today, I have my wonderful teaching friend, Rachel Ehring, joining the show. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you, Jackie. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm so happy to have you. Would you mind introducing yourself a little bit and telling us a little about what you do?
Sure. My name is Rachel Ehring, and I am the director of a music conservatory in Orange, California, which essentially is, you can think of it like a community music school. So I have about 15 teachers who work for me, and I do all of the administrative part for the school. During the school year, we have about 120 students we had this year, I think, give or take. Different instruments, mostly piano, but we have some other instruments as well. And we're connected with a church and a private school. So that's where most of our students are coming from, is from the private K-8 school here. And then in addition to that, what else do I do? Well, I have a podcast, Top Music Piano Podcast. And then I have a digital course about accompanying that I'm about to open enrollment for. The course is going to start on July 8th. The next cohort. So
that's so exciting. And that's what you did for
a while. I guess I should mention that. So yeah, for about 20 years, I was a professional accompanist. And then during the pandemic, kind of transitioned more into teaching and the administration job that I'm doing now.
Well, and I think that's great to know for us, because what you're doing, handling 15 teachers, different instruments, that's a lot of students. And I'm assuming you have to coordinate a lot with the school as well, the church and the school. So for you to go from accompanying, which is most obviously your comfort zone, to suddenly running this school, I think that's going to be really fitting with what we're going to be talking about big time. So I'm so glad that you're here. So the reason you're here is you and I have been talking lately about studio management software and all that kind of stuff. And I was trying to think about how this even came up. Like, when did we even start talking about this? But somehow we did. And here we are. Yeah. So we've been talking about so much so that we're actually redoing a session in my boot camp along with Clinton Pratt in a few weeks, which is going to be exciting. Early August 1st is when it's scheduled, actually. So that's today's COPI, our challenge, opportunity, problem, inspiration. I consider an O for opportunity because that's what it is. It's an opportunity. It's not a requirement to run a piano studio or school, but it's certainly helpful. At least it is for me. There are a couple of really good ones out there. right now. I use my music staff. I'm an independent piano teacher. So I've been using it for about 10 years or so. I would say that I really only started it to keep track of attendance and payments. It turned into keeping track of expenses and my calendar. But then when the pandemic hit, boy, did I start utilizing all the extra features because I couldn't keep track of anything. So you use Fons, is that right?
Yes, I do. Fons.com, Fons. And I also use it primarily for scheduling and billing. I mean, I'm in there all day, every day, honestly, because of the teachers and students that I'm managing. And so I feel like I know Fons really, really well, but there's a few features that I don't use. So I don't know those. But obviously I'm not connected with Fons in any way or anything like that. I'm just here to talk about my experience with it and what I know. And I've really grown to love it as a platform.
Right. I guess we should have that little disclaimer, like we're not
Yes.
we're not trying to sell, we're just sharing our experience and what it has to offer. And I know that I don't know all of the features that my music staff has either. I'm part of their Facebook group. There's 2 Facebook groups and they're really helpful. They're actually some of them, I want to say the healthiest piano teacher forums that I might be in. I don't know. Does Fonz have? I would imagine they would have a Facebook group.
They
Maybe.
do. I think it's called Fons Family something. And it's fantastic. I actually just right before that was on a mastermind with Eric Brenner, who is the founder of Fons. And every couple of weeks he'll put in the Facebook group, hey, I'm going to host a mastermind. For anyone who wants to attend, just send me a DM and I'll send you the link. So he'll host these free little meetups on Zoom, excuse me. And we'll just kind of share what we're working on. And he's very inspirational. So he'll get real excited about whatever you share and he'll encourage you and give you some tips and then move on to the next person. So, yeah, the Facebook group is really, really good.
Wow, that is so cool. I didn't know that he did that.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to connect too. And so it sounds like he's probably open to ideas of whatever music teachers might be struggling with and whatever
Very
they
much
need.
so. He's so personable. I mean, I really think that he's the reason Fons has gotten as big as it has because he's so personable and just makes you feel like the most important piano teacher in the world when you talk to him.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I didn't really start hearing a lot about Fonz myself until maybe the past year or so. So that's interesting. Did you learn anything fun and handy in your mastermind?
Today?
Yeah.
Great question. So, it's so interesting because there was like a saxophone teacher, there were a couple of guitar teachers. So we're kind of in the piano teacher world, but it's interesting to see what these other people are doing because if you think about a saxophone teacher, like he has this booming saxophone studio and there aren't that many people out there who want to play the saxophone. I feel like it's a lot harder to get saxophone students than piano students.
Absolutely.
So it's just really interesting to see what other people are doing and then what ideas they have. I was actually sharing in the mastermind about my accompanying course because that's what's on my mind right now as I'm launching it. Eric was like, so that's like what you do? And I was like, yeah, I did it for 20 years. I have degrees in it. And he's like, you need to be telling people that. And
You're like, I am working on it.
I know, I'm telling you right now. We were just talking about like how to get the word out and things like that. So
that's awesome. No, that's a big deal because it's hard to get the word out about some of these things. And in the boot camp, so we'll be talking about my music staff and the fines. And then Clinton's actually going to be talking about Teacher Zone, which I just have been learning about Teacher Zone. It even has an app for the students, which I have been begging my music staff to get an app for years. Hopefully we will get that eventually because my students, the parents really want an app for it. So I'm really excited to hear about his experience with Teacher Zone. Now he runs a multi-teacher studio as well. And his is just piano, but I know he's got like group lessons, multiple teachers, and that kind of thing. So I think that'll be exciting to hear about. So yeah, at this point in time, June of 2024, it sounds like those three are the popular ones. I'm sure there's more out there. But again, we're just talking about it.
Duet Partner is another one that I've heard.
I haven't heard that
about. Okay. I think Andrea Miller uses that one. That's another one that.
Well, let's go ahead and just jump in a little bit more. So like I said, for me, what I do is I use it to organize students' lessons. I love to put their birthdays in there and it sends an automatic birthday card to them. I have all kinds of lesson templates set up, welcome emails. So before the pandemic, I did what I think the majority of all music teachers did, and we had our notebook, right? All the students had their notebook. I always did this specific fold like a fan. When they were done with it, they'd get so excited when the page got folded because that meant that they did a really good job. But then the pandemic happened and suddenly I have a studio full of, 35 students and I have no idea what they're working on. And I don't even know what music I need. And it was just like craziness. So that's when it really came into use for me because they have lesson notes that you can put in there. And there's a place for private lesson notes for me if I do lesson planning. So I started doing that every week. And I can also keep track of all their pieces, all their repertoire. And that's been kind of awesome because I can go back and see what they've been working on forever. I also use it for the calendar, obviously. So students can go in there and in the summertime, they actually get to schedule themselves, which is really nice. In the school year, we have it just weekly. So the one thing I've noticed that I cannot do is if somebody registers with me as a new student, I have to go in there and set them up. And then I send them an invite and then the parent goes in, changes the password, and then it's all theirs and they can like personalize it how they want. But I feel like Fons, people can just go and click on a link and register themselves. Is that right?
They can. So for most of my students, all the ones doing private lessons, I actually have them fill out a Google form as like a registration, and then I put them into Fons because I ask a ton of questions, probably way more than I should on the registration, like the photo permissions and like I don't know, emergency contact and all this stuff. I have them fill out that, and then I put them into Fons. But one of the things I'm doing for summer is offering some group classes, and Fons has a camps and workshops feature. So I set up, I set up my piano class as a workshop, and then the parents, they can sign up straight from the link. They put their information in. I don't know if it's a login, but I know they have to put in like their name and email, and then they enter their payment information. It's a one-time payment for the class, and then I don't have to do anything. Like they just do it all from the link. So that's a really nice feature. And I think that I could set it up that way with the private lessons too, but I like to be a little more hands-on with the private lessons, I guess.
Well, it sounds like too, with so many teachers and so many students, you probably have to make sure they're going to the right person, that kind of thing.
Fons does have that feature where my teachers could potentially put their availability into Fons, and then parents would choose their lesson times. I thought about doing it for summer, but I decided just to make the schedule like I always do. I guess I'm a control freak or something. I don't know.
I don't know. I think with that many students and teachers, that's a very good trait to have. What's the process of scheduling them, actually putting them into the schedule and keeping them there for the year? How do you do it?
Yeah. So once they're in Fons, it's actually really simple. So they're set up as a client, and I hit schedule appointment. I choose their lesson time. So let's say they're going to start on July 1st. I make an appointment on July 1st, and then I can make it a recurring appointment. So I just say, this is going to happen every week at the same time. And then it just fills. And you can choose an end date. Like, let's say I'm going to redo the schedule in August. Recurring appointment until August 15th. And so they'll have that lesson time every week until August 15th. If I want to like say there's a holiday, so 4th of July, I want to cancel all the appointments, I can do that as a bulk cancellation, like cancel all the appointments on July 4th for all the teachers. So it's pretty easy, I feel like. And then they also have, you can set it up for billing. You can set up subscriptions where they're just charged every month on the first of the month. You can set up packages where they prepay for, say, a package of 6 lessons, and then it just ticks off, the packages or the lessons as they come out of the package. Or what I'm doing for summer, because families need a lot more flexibility in summer, is they're just paying per lesson. So if it's in the calendar, as long as my teacher doesn't mark them absent or whatever, according to makeup policy and all of that stuff, they're just billed for that lesson that they take. So each week they're billed per lesson.
Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That's almost identical to my music staff. You have several options for payments. So you can do a monthly charge, even billing. You can do it as far as per lesson. Or you can do like a one-time fee, which is probably, I guess, what their package would be. And it's kind of nice because I can put them in classifications, and they even have different colors. So in the calendar, I have it color coded, which is really cool. My preschoolers are purple, and it's very pretty. So I can classify them as preschool groups with that payment or with that cost. And then I have my group lessons, which are orange if you really want to know my colors here. And so my orange group classes are another monthly, and then my one-on-ones, which are yellow. Now, my calendar colors completely. Anyway, but it just makes it really convenient for me. And I will say my music staff, their customer service is beyond top notch. Like if I'm having a bad day, I could probably just call them and just be like, can you be my friend? And they would probably talk to me. I mean, they are just phenomenal, and they really try to help everyone. It's just so refreshing. And so when you're talking about how the owner talks to you guys too and does those masterminds, that's what it was making me think, like that's so great that we have options of companies that really want to help us. So
yeah, and I have to say, Fons also has incredible support. Their support team, I'm kind of on a first name basis with their support team. So they've made it now so like you can do the chat, the help chat where you can ask a question or whatever. And they do have it automated. So first you have to talk to the robot, but then I just say, I need to talk to a person. And then the person is there like pretty quickly.
That's great. So if you're having a bad day, you can just call them up and have a chat, right?
I can.
We'll just have our new friends. Do you communicate with parents through Fons?
So it does have the capability, like there's a messaging app. Usually I find myself emailing parents. Some parents will like cancel lessons in Fons, and they'll put a little note in, Johnny's sick today or whatever it is.
So they can cancel themselves. They can go in and cancel.
They can cancel.
Okay.
Yeah. And they can put little notes in there. The thing that I really, really love is not so much that I can communicate, but that it automatically communicates with parents. It will automatically send a lesson reminder. I think it's probably 48 hours before a lesson. It sends all the invoices and everything automatically. But I think that parents kind of have come to depend on those lesson reminders especially like the daytime. Well, I mean, all the lessons, but like for daytime lessons, they have to remember to put the kids' book in their backpack. So it's just like a little reminder, like, oh yeah, I'm not taking him to lessons, but this is my reminder to put the book in the backpack. Or if they are bringing them to lessons, then obviously the reminder to bring them. But I think that we have so many fewer missed lessons because of those automatic reminders that go out to parents, is my guess. And missed payments. I mean, Fons is on top of the payment stuff. And I'm so grateful that I don't have to, be sending emails or making invoices or any of that. Like Fons just takes care of it all. They send all the emails. If the payment doesn't go through, I get notified, and then they send another email like after a couple days. And if the payment's retried and it still doesn't go through, they send another one. And eventually, like, if it becomes a problem, then I step in. But
isn't that nice
usually,
though? And
yeah.
my music staff is the same way. But it does also have the automated feature through Stripe. And that's what I'm trying to move over to for the fall. You can do automated PayPal or Stripe. And so I'm choosing to do the Stripe one. And I've kind of pushed back for so long because I didn't want to have the fees, but it's going to save me time. I'm kind of thinking this is like me paying for an assistant as far as the fees go. So I'm justifying it that way. And I also love that they can cancel themselves so much. So I don't get all these text messages. Okay. So it sounds like these are very similar programs. I think it just depends on what teachers are looking for their own specific studio because they both sound great. Now, let's talk about how your teachers use Fons.
Well, it's the most accurate, up-to-date schedule. And I try and tell my teachers that as often as I can that they've got to check Fons. And they know that. Like each week they've got to, or each day they're here, they need to go and check Fons, because if their first two students have canceled that week, then I don't want them showing up an hour early, So it just saves me so much time not having to email my teachers, your student canceled, this person is sick, whatever. They know to go into Fons and check their schedule themselves. And I also color code with my teachers. So each teacher has a color. Yeah. For the longest time, I
to go through all your colors.
And then I discovered I could do different colors for each teacher, and it makes my calendar so much easier to read and more beautiful, of course. So I think that's the main thing. And sometimes they do communicate with the parents through Fons. They also, they have access to the parents' contact information. So if they need to send an email or even a phone call, they can go in Fons and have access to that information directly, so they don't have to come to me. I feel like, I guess one of my goals is that the conservatory runs smoothly even if I'm not here. So Fons allows that to happen. Like all the information that my teachers need is in there. Like I'll even put in there, pick up Johnny in his classroom, his first grade classroom. This is his teacher's name or whatever, so that they know they have to go pick him up at lunchtime or whatever it is. Or this person's parents are bringing them, during the summer, some of them come over from summer camp. So I put in there, go pick them up at summer camp, or their parents are bringing them. So I just put as much information as I can in there to make things run smoothly. It's like my second brain. Yeah. I can't keep all these details in my head. I have to put them somewhere. So having like one place to put all of that is essential for me.
That's really great that you can do that and you can communicate with the teachers through that and they can keep everything streamlined. I actually use my music staff for my lesson planning all the time. And it has made my life so much easier with my lesson planning because I can put them in the private notes. I can go into each student individually and kind of pre-plan that way. So I will say my lesson planning is wonderful. So I'm just curious, do your teachers use it at all that you know of?
Yeah. I don't think so. I think it's more just the scheduling. My teachers are fairly old school, I would say. They're not old, but they're kind of old school. Like I think they are still doing notebooks. Like they don't really utilize all of the notes and messaging features in Fons, I don't think, as much as they could. And maybe I should encourage it more, but I figure they have their own systems.
Well, that's the thing, to each their own, right? I also find that for me, it does help my studio look more like a professional studio, especially teaching out of my home. So I used to teach at a multi-teacher studio. It had the word academy in it. So, we just sounded so fancy. And then going to my house, I noticed such a difference in the approach of people when they would ask me what I do. I'd say, oh, I run a piano studio out of my home. They'd be like, oh, that's nice. Almost like it was a hobby, whereas I had never been treated that way before. And so I found that having this which you can use. There's templates on there. I don't know about Fonts, but on my music staff, they have templates that are similar to Wix, where you can make your own website, and it's part of the package deal, but you don't have to. And I did that for a while. The one that I used was a little outdated. It was before they updated it. Now I have one through Square, but I have a button on there where people, can log in. It has just made the whole, not only has it helped me organize everything and make my life easier, but it helps me be taken more seriously by the parents because of the professionalism in that. So
Yeah. And Fons has something called Fons Marketplace. And that's one of the features that I don't use. And so I don't know much about it. But I think it's something similar where you kind of create your website and, it helps you be found on Google somehow. I don't know.
that's
But
awesome.
yeah, because I'm
Yeah.
part of the church here, the church has the website and whatever. So I don't have to.
Are there any other features or functions that you love of Fonz that you would want to share?
I will say this about how I chose one of the reasons I chose Fons,
Yes.
because when I was hired on at this job, they had, before I was hired, the conservatory had actually been closed for 2 years because of the pandemic. They just shut everything down. So, and before that, everything was very old school, like pen and paper. There were no records or anything because it was just all like people writing checks. So when I was hired, I was like, okay, we have to do this differently. So I started researching different platforms for scheduling and billing. I thought about my music staff and Fonz, and there were a couple others that I looked into. I actually looked into Teacher Zone, I think. This is going to sound a little funny, but we've talked about how similar my music staff and Fonz are, which they are. They have tons of the same features. One of the reasons I chose Fonz is because for multi-teacher, it ended up being cheaper to go with Fonz because you can have, I think it's from like 5 to 20 teachers for the same price. Whereas my music staff, I think for each teacher, you add on like $5 a month or something. And so it just made so much more sense to be able to go all the way up to 20 teachers. Because at that point, I had no idea how many staff I was going to have. And because I'm part of the church, there's like, random administrative people who need to have access to put in account, the bank account number or whatever. And so it made a lot more sense. Felt like Fonz was, they understood the multi-teacher situation maybe better. I don't know, or differently.
No, I've heard that. I've heard that. I've heard people saying if you're a independent music teacher, you want to go my music staff. If you have a multi-teacher studio, you should go Fonz. And I actually thought that was the actual deal until about maybe 6 months ago. I thought Fonz was only for multi-teacher music studios. So it's interesting that you're bringing that up.
Yeah. So a lot of it came down to price, which that's not, I mean, I don't just love Fonz because it's a better price for sure, but it was a selling point that they had a good deal for up to 20 staff.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. An independent piano teacher, it's really nothing, but I can absolutely see, I think it does add per person. So if you have 15 people, multiply that by 5, it just really can add up. So I totally understand that. And then also, I wanted to ask really quick, the expenses. I don't love tracking my expenses, but I appreciate this because you can do pictures. So I'll just take a picture of the receipt and I can upload it and do the expense that way. And then I don't really have to hold on to everything. I don't have this shoebox of random receipts that I have to go through. I still save them just in case, but I have everything right there that I can pull up, which has been really, really helpful. It is a very simple form. It's definitely not QuickBooks by any means, but it's a great place to keep your tracking. And you can also track mileage, anything that we would need, you can track. Let me put it that way. And you can create your own categories. Yeah, it's really nice. I like it. So does Fonts have something like that too?
I think they do. I don't use that because of the situation that I'm in, at the church and everything. But I think they do. I'm pretty sure that they do have that. And they do have a lot of reports. Like occasionally I need to see how many hours a teacher or how many lessons a teacher had scheduled during a certain time period or something. And so I can run reports of all those different things.
All right. So as we wrap this up, for other teachers, directors, what have you, why would you recommend that they should have a software management system?
Yeah. So I think the biggest barrier that I hear teachers mention is the cost. Like, I don't want to spend that. And then there's the credit card fees, there's the transaction fees, blah, blah, blah. And I am going to tell you right now, you are going to make up that money tenfold. This amount of time that you're going to save with having automatic billing and with all the scheduling and saving yourself, sending emails and all of this, you're just going to be so much happier. You're going to say, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what I tell some of my friends when we go to different board meetings or whatnot. I'm like, you can do it for a month. I think you can do like up to 5 students for free in my music staff, and you can just do it like forever. I'm like, just put a couple students in there and just see what it's like, because it solves so many issues. And even like you said, with the credit card fees, I have tried to work my way around that for years. And then I end up spending all this extra time, tracking it in all these weird places. And it's worth it. It's like paying a super, super, super cheap assistant.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we'll do then is, if anybody wants to check it out, we'll go ahead and put our own links in there. Again, this is not like a salesy. We're not trying to sell anybody anything. We're just trying to share because I think it's interesting and we should all just know about these things. And if anybody has anything to add, we would love to hear it, because I'm sure that there are people who are listening like, these ladies are definitely not experts, but that's okay. We're just sharing our experience and what we go through. And also, if you are interested in accompanying, and because you can track that as well, just so you know, you can, at least in my music staff, if you have like a gig or something like that, you can add that in. I'm sure Fons has something like that too.
Thank you for plugging my accompanying course. I would love. It starts, I think I said at the beginning, it starts July 8th. So if you go in and the card is closed and you still want to join, just send me a DM or an email and I'll get you in.
Yeah, that looks really, really exciting. Okay, well, thank you, Rachel, so much. I appreciate you, and I'm sure we will be connecting soon.
Yes, thank you, Jackie, for having me. This was really fun to chat.
Hello again, teachers. I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast and that you gained a little insight on how helpful management software can be in your studio. Join me next week as I talk with Stephanie Miller from Toucan Piano about fitting in music history and composers into lessons with fun and very creative ideas. We recorded today, and I have to tell you, she is pretty inspiring to get those creative juices flowing. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful week, and be sure to let me know the answer to my question of what is your COPI. Talk to you soon.